Andrew Cuomo has to think about re-election next year, but is he also thinking about 2020 and a run at the White House? Well, in a poll of New Yorkers from this summer, the majority said Cuomo wouldn't make a good president. Not uncommon when you do those internal state polls of somebody looking to run for national office. Most people in that same poll didn't want him to run. But will he do what his father did, string it out, then announce that at the end of the day, it's not for him? Well, Andrew Cuomo has already done some legacy projects that look pretty good on a resume. Got a $4 billion bridge built when nobody else can get infrastructure done in this country, even named it after his late father. A leg of the 2nd Avenue subway was completed on his watch, and he made sure to take credit for it. That project also on the drawing board and delayed for several decades. If Cuomo starts thinking about running, will he move left to appeal to the base or be a centrist to appeal to more voters? Charlie, what will the tells be that he's doing things here that aren't just appealing to the counties within the state of New York, but appeal to the 50 states?
Well, I mean, look, I think he's focused on making the state the best state that it can be.
I know. What will he be doing?
Charlie, stop.
No, so why don't you talk about what the tells are?
He's already moved to the left on some very important things that he can talk about credibly. The best, the most obvious is free tuition. It's Bernie Sanders in practice.
Yeah.
His problems are two. On economic issues, he's still on the right. And minimum wage aside, which is an accomplishment, these corporate giveaways, these economic development projects that don't work.
But Richard, isn't that something inside baseball for New York? It's somebody outside of the state. The only thing that says he passes budgets on time.
Not in a Democratic primary where that kind of stuff matters, especially to the Sanders crowd. It's not to say he's buried and dead. He's not. He's got a credible record to talk about. He's got these problems, and he's also not been a likable man as governor. And that really, to some extent, hurts him.
You're shaking your head. Now, I want to also, in answer to that question, Dominic, we've obviously had a black president. We had a female presidential nominee. I remember a conversation, when his father was thinking of running. I don't know about an ethnic Italian guy playing outside of the blue states here, or how will that go over outside of the East Coast or West Coast? Is that even still a consideration in 2017 or 2020?
I don't think it's as much an issue. It may be in some parts of the country for some voters. Andrew Cuomo started running for president the day after he won the general election. He's been running, so it's not even debatable. And I have contended from day one, he has a strong shot at winning the nomination. And should he win the nomination, he may be the next president of the United States. Now, you mentioned that he's the mean guy.
I didn't say that.
Okay, well, you alluded to.
It's commonly accepted that he's not warm and fuzzy.
But that plays well because he can say, I went up to Albany with all these nonsense politicians and whipped them into shape. So the politicians may not like it, no offense, but who cares what the politicians think?
There's a revenge factor that's going to be out there. Bill de Blasio.
That may be true.
Is not going to lie down.
Bill de Blasio?
Bill de Blasio.
Bill de Blasio? What does he count for?
Oh, please.
Bill de Blasio?
I'm with Dominic.
Bill
Don't
de
even get me
Blasio?
started on that.
Wait, is that the same guy that Hillary dissed in Iowa and Whitney?
Well, let me be honest with you.
So now that Dominic has spoken, let me just add a couple things so that I can just jump in on, just on substance and also just on. So let's talk about the Working Families Party for a second, which is a good friend of Mr. Brodsky's over here. All right, they talk about all this sort of stuff. First of all, minimum wage, fight for 15. He's done that. Same-sex marriage, he's done that. Okay, special prosecutor and police, he's done that. So on substance, he's already done things to the left. Now you want to talk about speaking truth to power? You want to talk about his budget director, Rob Mojica, Puerto Rican. You want to talk about his counsel? It's Alfonso David, openly gay African American. You want to talk about who is running his office day to day? Well, that's Melissa DeRosa, 34. Hold on 1 second. 34.
Primary voters in Michigan aren't going to care about that. Primary voters in Colorado aren't going to care about that.
But you want to talk about the Bernie Sanders, Working Families Party people who always trash the governor about how he doesn't do. First of all, he does. And second of all, when he sits around a table like this, you've got people who are more diverse than anybody in the Working Families Party or Bernie Sanders or Bill de Blasio. What I get sick of is when we sit around here and talk about he doesn't have diversity. He's got more diversity around this table. The Working Families Party talks about that. You talk about it.
You're obsessed.
I'm obsessed about people talking about his record. His record is more diverse than anybody else that has it. You talk about people who actually put the policies together. They're more diverse than anybody or any other administration.
He's got a solid list of accomplishments, and he's got
he's
shortcomings.
diverse.
What are his shortcomings?
What? No, let's talk about his policies.
What are his shortcomings?
His policies are more diverse than any progressive
third
person
time.
you
What
have.
are his
But Richard,
shortcomings?
with a minimum amount of time, here's my point. Think about the landscape he'd be running in. You have the most polarizing, divisive time that I can remember when we're not in the throes of a war. The one thing that Andrew Cuomo is, whether you like him or you don't like him, and I think it almost serves him well that, you know, he is an assassin to get what he wants. He doesn't care who he hurts to get there. And he's competent, and he gets things done. And to me, I think that's what the public wants.
That's true. I don't think I trashed the guy.
No.
I said
I trashed him.
no. Well,
I want these two
wait
to
till
continue their
wait
argument
till I
after
tell
this.
the governor what
I'm
you
gonna
told
wrestle
me.
you to the
Yeah,
ground.
that's right.
These little tattletales. Stay with us.